Now, Confucius has given an overarching principle of attracting labor and human resource. He said, if a superior man loves propriety, the people will not dare not to be reverent. If he loves righteousness, the people will not dare not to be submit to his example. If he loves good faith, the people will not dare not to be sincere. Now, when these things obtain, the people from all corners will come to him, bearing their children on their back. Okay, so according to Confucius, immigration of the people, or the way to attract human resource, is simply by being a good ruler. The focus of being a good ruler is not solely about GDP or economic development. The first and foremost thing is benevolence and the virtue of the government. So the essence of immigration is, the pursuit of benevolence and virtue. And it's quite true. The economic life is a more visible measure. That's true. But benevolence and virtue is what ensures the lasting prosperity of the government and the country. Now, in explaining the way of attracting the people and stabilizing the immigrant labor, Confucius said, if remoter people are not submissive, all the influences of civil culture and virtue are to be cultivated to attract them to be so. And when they have been so attracted, they must be made contented and tranquil. So this is an extremely important governing principles of ancient China. According to Confucius, from the perspective of government, virtue is the golden key to maintain the population and win support, both domestic and foreign. Economic prosperity is an attractive factor indeed, but only a temporary one at best, because it cannot win people's heart, only their desire. And of course, military conquest, on the other hand, is the worst possible method to show strength and attraction. Well, we don't run short of example of the negative consequence of that in the last 20 or 30 years. In the Zhou dynasty, King Wen has always been the example, even till today, has always been an example of governance through virtue. King Wen didn't conquer, the China world through military power, but through morality and ethics. Here's a story. Once, two adjacent states had a dispute of, over the ownership of a piece of land. So the two heads of state decided to go to King Wen and ask him to make a judgment. Now, King Wen only ruled a very small country called Xibo. So at the time, it was no larger than the size of Singapore. So it's quite small. Okay, but when these two heads of state entered into Xibo, they found that everyone in this country showed respect to their fellow citizens and never quarreled over anything. And they were extremely moved and wonder, well, we as kings are not even as good as the common people in this country. The people are much more virtuous than us. So eventually these two heads of state decided not to go to see King Wen and deal with it themselves. So after they returned home, they both expressed willingness to give out the disputed land to each other, and finally settle the land as public area. Now, we can see that King Wen influenced the people using rights and education, while the domestic people were made contented and tranquil. Foreigners were also made submissive through the influence of virtue. So this is a real and extremely good example for our modern leaders. Now, it is important to understand that with this kind of benevolent government, economic prosperity is a natural outcome. Now, to put it in the finance and accounting context, the effort to improve morality of the government is not simply a charitable act. In modern accounting, charitable act is usually treated as a cost center item with uncertain financial benefit, if at all. But morality has a real monetary return. It provides real monetary return. So this is exactly why Confucius said the virtue is the root, while wealth is the outcome, is the result. During the conversation with King Hui of Liang, Mencius said, "Now, if your majesty will institute a government whose action shall be benevolent, this will cause all the officers in the kingdom to wish to stand in your majesty's court, and all the farmers to wish to plough in your majesty's fields, and all the merchants, both travelling and stationary, to wish to store their goods in your majesty's marketplace, and all travelling strangers to wish to make their tours to your majesty's roads, and all throughout the kingdom will feel aggrieved by their rulers to wish to come and complain to your majesty." So, according to Mencius' teaching, government's virtue can result in dedication of government officials, attract foreign workers and talents and tourists, and even people, coming to seek for justice. So all of these will gradually lead to real financial return through human resource improvement and commercial activities. So these are they are the same thing. They are one. And further, when we speak of the word king, let's be careful here. When we speak of the word king or royal or ruling the world, we always mean benevolence. Right? This is the only way to make the state the center of immigration. In fact, it's not only applicable to kings and country, but also very much useful in managing private enterprise, managing families, and personal friendship.